Welcome to the Infuse Compassion Podcast, hosted by me, Amy Quisenberry.
And me, Mark Carpenter.
We are on a mission to make this world a kinder place for us all by bringing healthier human connection to communities, families, and organizations of all types and sizes.
Our goal is to create stronger relationships, more inspired teams, increased trust, and improved results.
So let's get started with more ways to infuse compassion into our world. Welcome back, Compassionators, for another episode of the Infuse Compassion Podcast. I am so truly excited. Our guest today is doing such incredible work out there. It's amazing how the ripple effect, right? One thing happens and everything changes. And in this case, for the good. And so I'm going to turn it over to my good buddy, Mark, to do the introductions. Mark.
All right, fantastic. Thank you for joining us, Compassionators. You're going to love this episode as we talk to Kevin Smith. Let me give you a little background on Kevin. Kevin's guiding principle is the conviction that the meaning of life is to live it in a way to make a meaningful difference. And that's a perfect intro for somebody on the Infuse Compassion podcast. Kevin is a financial planner. He went from the corporate world to starting his own financial planning business, Smith Wealth Advisory Group, in 2001. And his team of advisors, is dedicated to helping others translate their monetary resources into meaningful life experiences by experiencing the riches of life itself. But on the morning of Good Friday in 2023, fate and circumstances intervened to really change his focus and to add much more to his life than he was ever anticipating when he woke up that morning. And I'm going to start by having Kevin share that experience, but it led to the launch of Kindness Worldwide in November of 2023, which was designed to create a culture of kindness in communities throughout the world. And we're going to give Kevin a chance to talk a little bit more about that and how he's reaching out to the world. But this is a fantastic opportunity for us to get involved and to learn more about this. And the documentary that Kevin is in the process of filming called For Such a Time as This. So welcome, Kevin, who's coming to us from York, Pennsylvania today. Welcome to the Infuse Compassion Podcast.
Well, thank you so much, Mark and Amy, and thank you for that very kind introduction. But the truth is, I'm just an ordinary guy who was touched by the actions of an ordinary woman who did an extraordinary thing. She was kind. And this whole adventure began innocently enough on Good Friday morning of all days, on a routine trip to the grocery store, a honey-do list for my wife to pick up just 2 items. I mean, how hard is that? Well, only somebody like me could mess it up because I purchased the 2 items just fine. I checked out. I drive straight home. I pull in my driveway at precisely 9:55 a.m. based upon the Ring doorbell footage, and my honey-do list is over. I have the rest of my day free. Life is good. I reach for my back pocket, and my wallet is missing. I frantically searched my car. It's not there. I knew I had to have left it behind at the store. My finger is literally on the panic button, was the ignition button of my car. And in that very moment, at 9:57 a.m., just 2 minutes after I returned home, a young woman magically appears like an angel out of heaven in my driveway, holding my wallet, asking if it was mine. And from that point on, it became an adventure of a lifetime. In my attempt to identify who this young woman was, thank her in a more meaningful way, it just took on a life of its own that continues this day. So many serendipitous moments, few would believe. So many coincidences, even I have a hard time believing. I call them God winks. One thing led to another. It ultimately led to forming the nonprofit Kindness Worldwide, which has a vision to create a culture of kindness in communities throughout the world. It became something so much more meaningful than simply trying to acknowledge this young woman in a more meaningful way. It became about making a meaningful difference. And again, you touched on it. I've always felt my mantra and how I've lived my life is to live it in a way to make a meaningful difference. I do that by day as a founder of a wealth advisory practice. Very meaningful to me to help translate my clients' monetary resources into meaningful life experiences, but you're limited to how many clients you can work with. When I think about making a meaningful difference, there's nothing more meaningful than literally trying to change the world through kindness. And that is exactly what this mission and what this movement is all about.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that you said, I'm just an ordinary person. Well, and this person who brought your wallet back, I think her first name was Brooke.
First name was Brooke. And all I knew was her first name at the time. And I since learned who she was through a Facebook search, so I'm happy to get into. But yes, her first name was Brooke.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she's just an ordinary person too. And so you think about this, ordinary people doing just a little bit more in terms of kindness can make an extraordinary impact. So talk to me about where that Kindness Worldwide movement has gone since its inception and what you're doing now to spread that even further.
Well, gosh, where do I begin? I mean, this has been an indescribable adventure of a lifetime. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version, but it's literally, I could go hours and hours and all that's happened, how we got to this point. Elgin Cahill, the director of the movie For Such a Time as This, is going to do his very best to synthesize it all in 90 minutes. If there's anyone that can do it, he can, but it's really impossible. I have like a 450-page timeline of all that's happened from beginning to now, and I update it every day, and it's just taken on a life of its own. But again, all I wanted to do was say thank you to this young woman. I found her on Facebook. All I knew was her first name. Well, first off, before that, let me back up. When I walked back inside after this happened, I felt, wow. I mean, she literally went the extra mile for me, literally and figuratively, 2.6 miles from the grocery store to my home to return my wallet the moment she found it with no hesitation. I felt I should have gone the extra mile for her, go above and beyond to thank her in a more meaningful way. So I intuitively, impulsively just reached out to the news. I emailed all the local news. This just happened. This inspired me. If you cover the story, I believe it'll inspire your audiences as well. But more importantly, Mark, the reason I did that is I felt if they would cover the story and this young woman would see it, it would be a way of thanking her in a more meaningful way. Well, one reporter did reply, and she did an interview the following Monday. It aired that evening. And by the next day, it apparently went viral. I had a friend call me from Florida and said, hey, I heard you lost your wallet. I'm like, well, how did you know I lost my wallet? He said, well, I saw it in the news. And next thing I know, it was literally in every state in the country. It went viral. And yet I didn't know if this young woman was even aware of all the positivity her simple act of kindness had inspired. And it weighed on me that she may not even be aware of this. And that was why I reached out to the news in the first place. So it was a long shot, but no Hail Mary pass was ever caught that was never completed. So I decided to throw one of my own. Mark and Amy, do you have any idea how many Brooks there are on Facebook?
Oh, I can't even guess. I mean, how many millions?
Yeah, quite a few. I'll leave it at that. And I assumed her name was spelled with an E. So I just decided, let me go on Facebook and just search under the name Brooke. And I scrolled for countless minutes. And honest to God, I'm about to give up. I'm like, this isn't going to work. One more swipe. The very next image I saw was a profile picture of a young woman with her dog that looked like her, wasn't sure. So I messaged her on Facebook with a link to the story. And sure enough, Hail Mary pass caught, it was her. And I was struck by her modesty and humility throughout. She actually thanked me for thanking her. She made a comment that resonated. She said, I'm just the blurry face, because they blurred out her face in the news segment to protect her identity. And that comment really struck a chord with me, because how many of us just feel like the blurry face? How many people live life feeling like they lack meaning and purpose, or that no one notices? That just struck me in a way that was very profound, because many of us can relate to that comment. And yet, her modesty just struck me, and that comment about the blurry face, but at least I was aware she saw the segment. But I still felt this compelling urge to do something more. Well, a couple of days later, believe it or not, I get an email at my work from, of all places, Inside Edition. Inside Edition is the nation's longest running syndicated news program. It has millions of viewers every evening. They became aware of the story. And they wanted to do a story with Brooke and I. And I was excited because she will no longer be the blurry face. And one of the great ironies of this whole adventure is that at the last minute, the day this interview was to occur, another storyline emerged. The interview was postponed. It never happened. Had it happened, Brooke would no longer be the blurry face. She'd be publicly acknowledged the way I had hoped. My work is done, right? Because of a story that didn't happen, it became the story it became today. It led to kindness worldwide. And feel free to interject. I mean, I'm going to tell you a little bit more how we got to kindness worldwide, but if there's any questions, let me know in the interim. But so I'm like, well, now what? She's still the blurry face. What do I do? Well, again, as fate and circumstance would have it, there was a meeting on my calendar. It was scheduled long before the events of Good Friday morning, 2023. It was late. It was like a week or so later in April with Stephen Martinez. He's the executive director of the York County SPCA, Society for Prevention for Cruelty to Animals. I was on the board for many years. Stephen would update me on the organization. So we had a meeting on our calendar long before the events of Good Friday morning. Stephen was late for the meeting, and he apologized profusely for being late. Now, any guesses as to why he was late for this meeting?
I'm just going to guess that he was doing something kind.
Well, he always does something kind. He's a very kind individual. But would you believe he was late because he forgot his wallet? Now, again, another sign, another little coincidence, another little God wink. So I said, you lost your wallet. And I said, Stephen, did you hear about my lost wallet story? Which he hadn't. He was like the only one in the county who hadn't heard about the story at this point in time. And I shared with him how I discovered this young woman, Brooke, due to a profile picture of her dog. And he made a comment, and this is a very pivotal moment. This is a very pivotal comment. He said, you know, Kevin, I've always felt that pets are like social glue that bond people and communities together. Mm-hmm. And I agree with that comment. I'm an animal lover. And that planted a seed in me. Instincts kick in again. On the drive home, I felt there was a deeper connection with Brooke. So I scrolled her Facebook feed again. I discovered that she's passionate about animals like I am, and in particular, a big supporter of the York County SPCA. And it was at that point I had the idea of making a donation to the York County SPCA in her honor, but also the idea of a community celebration of kindness at which she would be honored, be publicly acknowledged. That's when that idea took root, because pets are the glue, bond people and communities together. Let's have a special event at the York County SPCA. Well, then I started thinking about what does a community celebration of kindness look like? And all these ideas just kept coming. I'm like, well, I read where it was National French Fry Day. And we have days and weeks for many things. And I like French fries. I mean, French fries are good. Too many French fries, not healthy, not good. But you can never have too much kindness. And I knew there was a World Kindness Day. But even then, you know, it's the one day we do celebrate kindness more than any other day of the year. But still, too few people, I think, are aware of it to celebrate. I'm like, what about a week? Is there a week for kindness? And I did my homework, and there wasn't. I'm like, well, let's have a kindness week. And let's formally recognize kindness. That's what I believe is humanity's greatest asset. So I arranged for York City Mayor Michael Helfrich to proclaim Kindness Week. And I'm like, well, what about York County commissioners? And they agreed. And then I went to the neighboring county of Adams County. I'm like, well, why not Governor Shapiro? And he got on board. And I would have kept going, but I ran out of time. But so now we formally recognize kindness as humanity's greatest asset. That's great. Okay, now what? Well, then it occurred to me, I got connected to Orly Waba, this adventure. She's a key player in the World Kindness Movement for many years. And we talked about the idea of kindness citations, a great way to improve police-community relations, change the paradigm of community repolicing. So I developed a kindness citation, and we had police departments like issuing kindness citations for the week. That's part of the framework. And then it occurred to me about, well, blood donation is very symbolic of paying an act of kindness forward. It can literally save lives. So that became part of the framework for this celebration of kindness. And then the dates, you know, it kept moving on. And we ultimately created this framework. Kindness Week, what's now known as Kindness Week Worldwide, is celebrated every November. The Saturday before World Kindness Day, which is always November 13th of every year, to the Saturday after. It's 8 days. Why 8 days? Well, I think kindness deserves an extra day. So we went the extra mile to add an extra day for the week. By then, I identified 8 characteristics of kindness because I felt we should break kindness down into its fundamental elements so we can get our arms around it. So those 8 characteristics are gratitude, patience, forgiveness, empathy and compassion, respect, joy, generosity, and service. So symbolically, we have one day for each of those characteristics. And I had this, you know, this idea, and all these ideas kept coming. And I had a document that outlined all this. I had my objectives. I had all the timeline. It was all organic. It just happened accidentally. It just kept getting bigger and bigger. And another pivotal moment in this journey, it has changed my life. My brother-in-law, Michael Binko, has done entrepreneurship his whole career, his whole life. He's very well known in that space throughout the country. He advises startup companies. It's what he does for a living. He was visiting for the weekend. Meanwhile, I'm spent, Mark and Amy. I'm exhausted. I'm burnt out. I'm sprinting a marathon literally every minute of every day, trying to plan this special community celebration. And this is probably in August of that year. And I'm in my corner chair. I'm in my happy place. I got a coffee to my left. I got my dog Bella on my lap. I'm just spent, exhausted. I want this event to be over. Like, I wanted my life back. I mean, this thing literally turned my world upside down. It's consuming every minute of every day. And I have a day job too, by the way, which I'm very passionate about. So Michael's reading this document that's coincidentally laying on my dining room table. He happened to know what I was doing. He didn't know all the details. And he's reading this document. And after he reads my objectives, this framework for Kindness Week, he looks up at me and he says, Kevin, and this is a moment I'll never forget. And I get emotional every time I refer to it. He says, Kevin, his words, not mine. He says, do you realize you have created in 5 months a sustainable, replicable model that has a higher probability of success than even the most promising startup companies he's ever worked with takes 5 years or more to do? And I looked up at him. I said, well, what model? What are you talking about? Like, I'm just planning this event. He says, Kevin, this framework for Kindness Week, he says, you can bring this to communities anywhere and everywhere. He says, our world needs this now more than ever. You can't stop with York and what you've done so far. You need to bring this to communities throughout the country and the world. You've got to start a nonprofit. You can't stop. And I wanted this to stop. I wanted my life back. I mean, this was not all rainbows and unicorns, right? It's the most meaningful thing I've ever been a part of. But in that moment, honestly, I get emotional reflecting back on it. My head went down and my shoulders sank. And I knew at that moment my life would never be the same. There was no going back because I saw it. I saw the potential. At a time our world is so divided, this is a way to bring people together on the one thing that unites us all, which is kindness. And in my heart, I knew for selfish reasons, if I said no and I didn't pursue it and take it to where I knew it could be, then I'd be part of the problem, not the solution. And I couldn't live the rest of my life essentially being a coward, being afraid to go that for selfish reasons when I knew it could matter, make a difference. And then, it became, what do we call this nonprofit? And I'm still thinking kind of small ball at the time. And Michael does a search. He said, well, Kindness Worldwide is available as a domain name. And I'm like, well, isn't that kind of, I'm a humble guy. But I don't, like a lot of attention. I like to stay behind the scenes, but I'm like, Kindness Worldwide, that's pretty bold. He said, no, Kevin, it's Kindness Worldwide. And sure enough, he was right, because it's called Kindness Worldwide for a reason, because now this movement of Kindness Week Worldwide, it's spreading, it's being celebrated in communities throughout the country and the world, Delphi, Greece, and California, in different states. And I gave the keynote address at the General Assembly of the World Kindness Movement in Palermo, Italy last October. And in that address, there was 40 nations represented. I called on, in that address, every leader of every state, community, country in the world, including every member nation of the United Nations, to elevate kindness to the global shared value that represents all of humanity and formally recognize Kindness Week Worldwide. And there is actually a path for that to be achieved. I mentioned Governor Shapiro, first governor to be engaged. Well, there's 49 other governors, and there's connections I'm building with other governors. We're not going to stop with Governor Shapiro. We're going to get all. And we're not going to stop the United States. It's going to go to other countries. And then we're not going to stop there. We're going to put every member nation of the United Nations on record of fully recognizing this meaningful week. Because if we can't agree on kindness, we can at least agree on that, right? There's a lot that divides, a lot of differences. I understand that. But can we all agree on kindness? That's the foundation. Let's start there and move from there. That's the vision. There's a path, and I'm committed to seeing that vision achieved. Long answer to your question, long-winded answer. I'm very passionate, as you can tell. I'm a go big or go home kind of guy. There's nothing more meaningful. There's nothing bigger than really trying to change the world kindness, and we are going to do that. It's not just me. There's ambassadors that are part of this movement that are embracing this vision. It's all heart, no ego. Right now, no staff, no overhead, limited resources, but the model is there to take this movement throughout the country and the world.
Kevin, your story, what you shared, is so incredibly powerful. Like there's it. I want to take you to the moment where you put your head down. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, this hasn't all been rainbows and unicorns. I mean, it's necessary. And, the title of the documentary, For Such a Time as This is a time. I mean, there's so much division in the world. And this act of kindness has changed my life in two ways. One is that it's changed my paradigm of the world. I was a news junkie, and like most of us, we watch the news, and most of what we see and read and watch is negative. And I do think in many respects, our news media needs to do a better job to go the extra mile to cover more positive, uplifting stories. And in some cases, I think they stoke the flames and not diffuse them. And just narrative becomes about narrative, not about the truth. If we aren't careful, we can get conditioned to believe a narrative that is so far removed from truth and see the bad. And we can't deny that bad exists, but it's not the norm, it's the exception. And bad things, they don't have to define us, they can refine us. But I was caught up in watching the news day in, day out, and it largely was conditioning me to take a jaded view of the world and see the world through a lens that's half empty instead of half full. This one act of kindness essentially snapped me out of that trance and made me see the good again. Maybe realize, no, the good is the norm. It's all around. I just need to open my eyes to see it. So see the good, right? But it's not enough to just see the good. It's important to be the good too. And for the longest time, I would point the finger at others. And there's a lot of finger pointing that can go around. I think our media could do a better job of uniting us instead of stoking flames. I think our elected officials can disagree better with respect in our discourse and lift us up with visionary leadership that brings us all together in uplifting ways instead of dividing us. It's all about power, not solving problems. And, look, there's a lot of finger pointing that we can go around, but it doesn't solve anything. And so I had an epiphany when I looked in the mirror, I pointed the finger at me. I can't control the actions of others. I can only control my own actions and behaviors. And once I stopped dwelling on what I couldn't control and started to channel all my energies on what I could, and as this started to take a life of its own, this movement started to emerge, I became empowered. I used to feel powerless to do anything about the problems in the world. Who am I? I'm an ordinary guy. I'm just Kevin Smith. What can I do about anything? I think many of us feel that way. We feel like the blurry face. There's nothing we can do. Well, guess what? I am now convinced, if nothing else, I'm committed to try, but I believe I can do something after all. I can control my own actions and behaviors, and by leading by my own example, I can hope to inspire others to follow it. Whether they do or not, I can't control, but at least I've got a conscience knowing I'm going to do everything I can, everything in my power to make a difference. And the reality, as this started taking a life of its own, and that comment, my head went down and my shoulders sank, is I know how I'm wired. And I know it's a blessing and a curse because everything I've ever attempted in my life, I exceed. There's no expectations any higher than my own. And even as high as my expectations are, I still exceed them. And that's a blessing and a curse to have that overachievement mentality. And when I started to see a path to actually bring people and communities together and do something that matters, that's meaningful, that can truly make a difference, and hopefully do something to remind people of the goodness that we inherently possess instead of all the negativity we see every day, I knew what that was going to entail. And I knew the sacrifice it was going to require, but love is sacrifice. But I knew the toll it was going to take my wife and I, my time and energies, were limited as it is in my practice and what I do by day. But I have a team there and that helps. But, I don't like being the center of attention. I can do it. I've had to do it. I've had to confront every fear I possess, doing interviews, doing podcasts, being on TV, being on the radio. None of that appeals to me. Um, I've had to like stare at my worst fears. Most of us, we run away from them, we avoid them. I'm doing a dead sprint every day at my worst fears because I know the bigger this movie becomes, I know what price that's going to entail. And I like to be behind the scenes. I'm a simple guy. I like a simple life, but my life is it's not so simple anymore. And nor is my wife's because she's part of the story too, right? And so behind the scenes, it's going to come out in the film. This film's going to be very powerful, by the way. This film, there's more to the story that's going to come out. And the ripple effects of this one act of kindness are very profound, and how it's touched other lives and saved lives, and the transformative power of kindness. It's touched so many lives, those stories. This film is not only going to cause us to see others in a different way, it's going to cause us to see kindness through a completely different lens, but it is literally not only going to change, but save countless lives for multiple reasons. It's that powerful. But the bigger this movement gets, and shining a light on the world that needs it now more than ever, I kind of mourn a life that a part of me dies. That life I had, I thought it's gone. But the good news is the future life that my wife and I have together, I mean, there's nothing more meaningful. It's good. It's just different. It's not what I had in mind. I've kind of gone through it's positive trauma. My friend, Dr. Jen Fraser, she understands the brain science behind this. And there's a science behind kindness. And we're collaborating on a lot of things. She pointed out to me that basically what I've experienced is positive trauma. It's reconciling this life I thought I had, I was living, and then having to accept this new life that never wished for, asked for, it just happened. It's a good thing, but there's a process there, but positive trauma is the best way to describe it. That was her term. But a lot of this will come out in the film, but it's not been easy. But I'm just having to get used to being comfortable, being uncomfortable. We're not called to be comfortable. We're all given unique God-given talents, and we're called to use them. I think I'm a very faith-oriented person, but when God gives you the call, and I can tell you all the reasons, this is a calling, it would give you chills if I went into depth and explained all the reasons why I know it is. You just got to let go and let God and trust. And that's what I'm trying to do. It's still a work in process, but here we are. But thank you for asking that. I get emotional because this has been life-changing in many ways, good ways, but in some ways, not so good, for selfish reasons, but this is a selfless endeavor. It's not about me. It's never been about me. It's about us. It's about we. It's a we endeavor, not a me endeavor. It's about doing something that's going to hopefully change lives and save lives for generations to come.
So, Kevin, you've mentioned the film For Such a Time as This. And when this episode airs, I believe the film will be out. So where can people learn more about that? How can they get involved in it? What can they do to participate in this movement of kindness worldwide? And I know there were like 4 questions right in there. But start with the film, and where can people get access to it? Where can people learn more?
Well, to be determined. So we're going to be entering the film in all the major film festivals. And we can't do any public showings until the film festival circuit begins. That'll be in early January. We're entering in all the major ones. Now, we can do a private screening, and we do plan to do a private screening, invitation only, in York, Pennsylvania. York is the epicenter of this movement, and where this all began. And that'll be November 12th, right in the heart of Kindness Week worldwide. And York is where kindness citations and all the magic happen here. If the magic can happen in York, Pennsylvania, it can happen anywhere and everywhere. So York was kind of the test case, right? The petri dish. And York is a microcosm of the country and the world. And so, but as far as the film, no public showings until probably early 2026. So if it's successful, and in my heart, I know this is going to, any audience that sees it, it's going to have a profound impact. We're hoping to get a distribution deal and hopefully go take it from there. And there's all kinds of opportunities where this may lead to change lives, which I'm convinced it will. But one way or another, I can see having showings for various audiences, faith-based communities. There's going to be so much that's going to resonate about this film with so many audiences. And at some point, I need to build an organization. Like, this is all heart, no staff. It's just people giving what they got, whether it's ambassadors or volunteers, because they believe in this movement and this vision. And, I'm just so grateful they believe in me, but it's not about me, it's about us. And but this vision to achieve a culture of kindness in communities throughout the world, the movement itself costs nothing. Kindness is free. We can bring the magic of kindness we provide everywhere, but there are things to achieve that vision that are going to take resources. We want to bring, kindness curriculums. We can teach kindness. We can teach values. We want to bring that to every classroom throughout the world. In our workplaces, there are programs. We can lead with kindness. Kindness is a strength, and there's science behind it. We can improve productivity, morale, so many things in workplaces. We want to turn anti-bullying into pro-kindness. We have a campaign called Cool to Be Kind. We want to show and send a message that kindness is hip, fashionable, trendy, and cool, and send that message to our children, right, who are the future leaders of this country and this world. Well, I have public service announcements, 3 different ones, and they've aired locally, but we want to bring them to networks all over. I'd like to think they'll do it for free to send that message to our children, but I'm not naive, and it's going to take money and resource to do that. So I have the model and the framework to actually hopefully have people want to sponsor this movement, want to support it financially, or give what they got. And look, this has all happened. This movement is well underway with no staff, no overhead, all heart. If we have any resources as tailwinds of this movement, guess what? Katie barred the door. It's going to be, it's going to go where it's destined to go. But at some point, I got to build an organization that outlives me. This organization, Kindness Worldwide, has got to be something that changes the world for generations to come. And the only way that can happen is that it can't be dependent upon me. It's got to be dependent upon us and have a sustainable model. That's in place, but I'm going to need support. People can go to kindnessworldwide.org. There's toolkits and resources. And the film will be an avenue that we can actually generate some resources. And we have a model that we recycle those resources back into communities that they originate. We amplify $1 in for impact. We amplify any unit of time, resource in for impact. That's all. That's what it's all about to me. That's what I do. I take a 10X stance, a legacy perspective with a collaborative spirit. And so all those pathways are there. And I just welcome any and all support. We're all part of the story. This is not my story. It's our story. Kindness Worldwide, I always say it's our story. And we are all writing the chapters of this magical story together. And I'm convinced as more people are aware of the story, want to be a part of it, the most beautiful chapters are yet to come. So stay tuned, and we're all writing those chapters together.
And every ordinary person, every blurry face can have an impact on that. And so we'll have all those links in the show notes too, with how to get in touch with Kevin, how to reach out, how to be part of this movement, and how to make that impact, even though you're just one person, and even those little simple acts that we take. Amy, I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask our final question that we always ask our guests.
Wow. So, Kevin, what is one thing our listeners can do to infuse compassion into their lives this week? What's one tip?
Well, compassion is one of the 8 characteristics of kindness. And I would say it really boils down to just be the reason someone believes in the goodness of people. It's that simple. We all have a choice. Kindness is a choice. We all have the ability to be that reason. It could be something that's, doesn't have to be something big, doesn't have to be anything grand. The little things are the big things, but send a meaningful note to someone meaningful. Or compliment someone. There's always a reason. Maybe it's give dignity to a homeless person by acknowledging them. I mean, how many people just walk by as if they don't exist, Ask their name, shake their hand. It's all about being seen. Everyone wants to be seen, right? We all have the power within us to do those little things that really are the big things. Ordinary people are capable of doing extraordinary things. And it's extraordinary to be kind. It really is that simple, yet that profound. And we all have that ability. Just be the reason someone believes in the goodness of people. Put the 8 characteristics of kindness into action. Gratitude, patience, forgiveness, empathy, and compassion, respect, joy, generosity, and service. If we all do those things well within our control, not only will we change the world around us, we will change the world at large. We each can be the ripple to inspire a wave, to shower the world with love and compassion.
That actually got me really emotional. Be the reason someone believes in the goodness of people. It is so simplistic and so powerful at the same time. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your message. Thank you for saying yes to this venture that you're on, this transformational. You've said it multiple times. I know our listeners feel it. Our world needs this. Our world needs this. I literally see you as like a gladiator in these times. And I really want to encourage people, if you're listening and saying, I want to help, I want to be one of the angels, one of the volunteers, one of the ambassadors. I want to be out there. Kindnessworldwide.org. I please reach out to Kevin, because this is incredible. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you both. Well, look, this story of Kindness Worldwide is proof. No act of kindness is too small to make a difference and change a life. And anyone can make a lasting impact and even change the world through kind actions. So why not you? Why not us? For such a time as this, we each have the ability to be that ripple, to become a wave, to literally change the world. And that's what we're all in the midst of doing together. This is our story. So thank you both so much for the people you are, the wonderful work you're doing. You are part of this story. I've met so many wonderful people throughout this adventure of a lifetime, and you are now among that list. And it's just been, again, an adventure of a lifetime that continues to this day. You are now part of the adventure, part of the story, part of this beautiful story's future chapters. And so thank you so much for the wonderful, kind people that you both are.
Thank you, Kevin. And thank you to our listeners who have joined us today, our compassionators, we call them, those who have opted in for compassion. And you've opted into Kindness Worldwide. So like Amy said, go out to kindnessworldwide.org and let's all get involved with this. Let's all take those steps to make the world a better place. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Infuse Compassion podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation, please share a review and like the podcast so other compassionators can join us. Until next time, let's all do something each day to infuse compassion into the world. For more information on our guests, see the show notes. For more information on Mark and Amy, go to infusecompassion.com.